Elon Musk accusing Apple of engaging in antitrust practices and threatening to take legal action. Overnight, Musk posting on X, Apple is behaving in a manner that makes it impossible for any AI company besides OpenAI to reach #1 in the App Store, which is an unequivocal antitrust violation. XAI will take immediate legal action. Joining us right now on her thoughts on all of this is Michal Lev-Ram, Silicon Valley journalist and a contributing editor at Fortune magazine, as well as a CNBC contributor. What say you? What do you make of this?
Well, good morning, Andrew. I don't know about unequivocal. There are definitely some really valid issues that Musk raises here. What he's basically saying is that Apple is giving OpenAI preferential treatment in its App Store rankings, and like you said, threatening to take legal action. As we all know, Apple has a partnership with OpenAI for powering its Siri and Apple Intelligence products, and that in and of itself is not an antitrust violation. But if indeed Apple is giving preferential ranking to ChatGPT, to OpenAI's product, Musk could have a case. I think what he's really unleashed here, though, beyond this potential self-preferencing accusations, is some real frustrations with Apple's AI strategy, which I know we've talked about at length. And I'm seeing a lot of posts and a lot of chatter about that and about, what comes down the road. And does Apple stick just with ChatGPT? What is its longer term strategy? And for those people who are paying for Grok or for Gemini or Anthropic or other models, they want to use their model of choice with their iPhones and have it be a more integrated experience. Right now, that's not possible.
Okay, so let's just understand a couple of things, because we talked to Kovac earlier, and he was making the comment that he thought maybe he wasn't talking about manipulating the App Store list. I think it's the App Store list, the actual rankings in the App Store that Elon is referring to. I think that's what he's saying. The question is how you would do that. If you believe that list is not editorially focused, but is actually like an algorithm, he's effectively saying that somebody is literally putting their thumb on the scale. Or do you think he's saying that because of the relationship that Apple has with OpenAI and the integration issue and maybe the way it's promoted in the editorial areas, if you will, of the App Store, that they are able to boost it in a higher on the list as a function of that, but that mathematically it would get there, but it's getting there because of all of this extra support?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. It's really hard to answer, though, because Apple's ranking is very murky. It's a lot of it has been a combination of algorithmic ranking and editorial curation, which Apple is kind of known for, and there's been a reason for that. They would argue that it's quality, that they're adding a human touch there, just as they do with Apple News, by the way. So I think it's a really, really hard case to make. That said, again, it poses a broader question about this partnership between Apple and OpenAI and what happens down the road for people who do want more choice. And obviously, this has been a big issue with Apple and its App Store more broadly, like we saw with the Epic Games lawsuit and what's gone on with some of the in-app purchases and the lack of payment options, the high commissions that Apple takes. So I think it raises a lot of questions that are going to be very, very hard to answer. One of which for me, by the way, is Elon Musk serious? Is he really going to take legal action? Because what's happening now, actually, which is kind of ironic and funny, is that it's also unleashed this campaign. Lots of people who are putting in their reviews for Grok, for XAI's product. And if indeed that helps raise its rankings in the Apple App Store, then I think it also weakens Elon Musk's case, right?
Right. Let me just ask you one final question. I'm a ChatGPT user. I also use Grok. I play around with all of them quite regularly. What I don't do, oddly enough, is use ChatGPT through my iPhone that often. I don't find myself effectively leveraging that, and I don't find myself sort of hooked into the ChatGPT universe simply because I live in the Apple universe. I also happen to live in a Google world, oftentimes on my iPhone, as it happens. How much lift do you think the OpenAI relationship as it exists inside of the iOS on this phone is pushing people to the paid or even unpaid version of ChatGPT, the app?
I mean, when you set up Apple Intelligence today, you do have one option, and that's ChatGPT. There is an option within that setup process to upgrade to a paid version. So I do think that it probably is pushing some people towards that route. You know, not everybody is experimenting with as many apps as you do, Andrew. And I know you're vibe coding an app even, so you're fully immersed here. And I do think that for people whose introduction, what's that?
I said, so he says.
I'm seeing finished the work on it.
Very little progress.
All right. Well, we'll believe it when we see it, I guess. But, you know, I do think for people whose introduction to AI, to Gen AI is really going to be through Apple, which is some proportion of the population, you know, yes, it does lead them to that route, to the ChatGPT route.